This week on Worldview, after the deadly bomb blast in Delhi, there's a blast in Islamabad. 6 months after Operation Sindoor was launched, are tensions in South Asia rising again? And what are the diplomatic impacts of the investigation's international trade? Hello and welcome. This is Worldview at The Hindu, and I'm Suhasini Haidar. Now, this week, there was a major blast in Delhi with police tracking its links to Pakistan and even Turkey. Another in Islamabad that the government blames India and Afghanistan for, with the government in India maintaining that Operation Sindoor continues and Islamabad strengthening its army chief's hand through a new constitutional amendment is the shadow of another conflict just growing. And what could possibly avert that? Let's start with what happened in India this week. Major blast, as we said, in Delhi's Red Fort area. It went off as explosive material in a car, exploded at a crowded traffic junction. It killed at least 13 people, injured dozens. In the car was a man belonging to what the police now believe is a terror module that involves doctors and other professionals, mainly from Kashmir, but also from other parts of the country, planning a series of attacks, possibly next month. Now, the blast itself may have been accidental or planned in haste, as the police had already begun raids on parts of the module. So the cabinet statement that came out referred to it as a terror incident and an explosion, not directly calling it a terrorist attack. Regardless, Prime Minister Modi, who flew to Bhutan the day after the blast, spoke about that blast during the 70th birthday celebrations for Bhutan's previous king, Jigme Singye Wangchuk. Listen in to what PM Modi said.
हमारी एजेंसियां इस षड्यंत्र की तह तक जाएगी। इसके पीछे के षड्यंत्रकारियों को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। All those responsible will be brought to justice.
Bhutanese King Jigme Namgyal Wangchuk, the previous king's son, offered prayers for those who had died in Delhi, even as condolences came in from many countries around the world.
Let us all come together and pray for India. We would like to take a moment and pray for the people who sadly lost their lives yesterday in Delhi.
In Canada, on the sidelines of the G7 Foreign Ministers outreach, External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar met with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who expressed his condolences, and then he said that the blast's implications could be broader.
It was a car loaded with highly explosive materials that detonated and killed a lot of people. But I think they're doing a very good job of carrying out an investigation, and I think when they have facts, they'll release those facts. So, but clearly, I mean, we're aware of the potential that it has, and so we spoke about that a little bit today, the potential that it has to become something broader. But I think we're going to await to see what their investigation reveals. We've offered to help, but I think they're very capable in these investigations. They don't need our help.
And after investigators revealed that they believed two of the suspects met with Jaish-e-Mohammed operatives who were allegedly from Pakistan in Turkey, the Turkish government issued a statement. It denied any link, condemned both the blasts as well as reports that sought to draw Turkey into the conspiracy. Meanwhile, let's turn to Pakistan, where a suicide bombing one day after the Delhi blast occurred outside a district court complex in Islamabad, killing at least 12 people. The blast in a high-security zone certainly set off panic, leading even the Sri Lankan team that's playing in Pakistan to say that it wanted to return home. Pakistan straight away blamed Indian proxies as well as Afghanistan for the attack. Remember, Pakistan and Afghanistan have had tensions for months now. They've been in talks for a ceasefire, but those talks are in trouble. The defense minister is saying there's really no point to them. Meanwhile, a TTP, so Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is a anti-Pakistan group supposedly based in Afghanistan, its splinter group called the Jamaat ul Ihrar, JUA, that has carried out attacks before, claimed responsibility for the suicide bombing. In a statement about the Pakistani statements, the Ministry of External Affairs denied it and called them statements by Pakistan's obviously delirious leadership. It also called the accusation Pakistan was making a diversionary tactic from the political moves inside Pakistan, where, remember, the Assembly has cleared a constitutional amendment, in fact, several, giving the army chief new powers as well as lifelong immunity from legal matters. Now, the impact of the two blasts can clearly be felt across the subcontinent. So the question really is, are there chances of another conflict after the May 10th ceasefire this year? And why are so many worried about them? To begin with, India has consistently maintained that Operation Sindoor continues, and therefore there's only a pause in hostilities and not a complete end to them. In his May 12th speech, Prime Minister Modi had claimed that Pakistan had promised India that it would not carry out any terror activities or any military aggression. If you go back to that speech of May 12th, there were three important red lines that India had drawn. One was that all terror attacks will be responded to firmly. Second, that India would not care about the nuclear threat coming in both countries' conflict. And third, that India would not differentiate between terrorists and their government sponsors. Now remember, Pakistan had denied it had made any such plea, and then US President Trump had waded in, claiming that he had mediated the ceasefire. He repeated that claim about 50 times, much to New Delhi's irritation. So in a sense, with this particular attack, New Delhi may feel that its threat and its red lines are being tested for the first time. Third, in the past as well, remember, there has been a time lag. The Modi government has taken some days over its response to terror attacks or terror incidents, as this one is. The surgical strike at the line of control followed 11 days after the Uri attack. The Balakot strikes came 12 days after the Pulwama bombing in 2019. In May 2025, Operation Sindoor was launched 15 days after the Pahalgam killings. Another common thread, Jaish-e-Mohammed, was held responsible for all those attacks and is being investigated once again. Pakistan too has, as of this year, established a precedent by bombing Afghanistan after a terror attack, as it did earlier this year, and it may also feel compelled to hit back in some way due to domestic pressure as well as a further emboldened army chief. So clearly many reasons for the kind of worry there is about a conflict again. What considerations could avert such a conflict then? The first, thus far, the investigation is focused on a largely homegrown terror module. The government may not wish, therefore, to broaden divisive fault lines within the country while opening an international front. So some of the language you're seeing, which sounds a lot more muted, maybe because of that. The second, the impact of Operation Sindoor was felt economically in India. While Pakistan and Afghanistan are perennially unstable and don't see really any radical changes with each conflict, India certainly loses economic momentum whenever there is one. Third, the new Pakistan-US relationship may mean US President Trump tries to get involved in mediating any fresh conflict, and India would like to avoid any kind of tensions with the US at a time it is trying to repair ties. Fourth, the new Pakistan-Saudi mutual defense pact, we've spoken about it at Worldview before, that may complicate matters for India, while Pakistan may also be restrained because of the India-China rapprochement that we've seen since May. A lot has happened in this 1 year. Condolences, in fact, came in from Beijing right after the Red Fort blast. Final point, after 3 strikes now, 2016 at Uri, 2019, and then 2025, as well as the August 2019 moves in Jammu and Kashmir, the government may need to reassess the deterrence capability of these kind of counterstrikes and actions and consider another way of making Pakistan what it calls feel the pain. Analysts are already suggesting both countries are actually engaging in a proxy war now. So what's Worldview's take? The existence of a homegrown terror module in India, despite the government's heavy crackdown over the past few years, is a cause for deep worry, regardless of the international links and threads to Pakistan or further afield, which can assist such violence but not actually carry it out. It may be time for some internal introspection about radicalization that remains undetected, even as India essays its external threat. That kind of introspection and reassessment will burnish India's reputation internationally as much as a professional investigation and a conclusive trial will. And we don't have reading recommendations for you this week, but we'll certainly come back with Worldview next week with many more. So do join us again. And from the team here, thanks for watching.